every time you heal a part of you, you get to heal one part of your ancestor. And the more healing we do, the more we get to return to country.
Right.
You can already feel it. The more you've looked inside of yourself, the more you see your connection has grown for country. And that's the importance of healing, because healing is the real revolution.
We would like to acknowledge that we are on stolen Yuggera and Turrbal lands, and as settlers of colour, we reflect upon the damaging legacy of colonisation. Always was, always will be.
I'm Rudy Matoy, and I create. More so, just channel through sounds, whether that is, music or through vibration. So,
right.
Yeah.
And
in every way.
Has that been a lifelong thing for you? Has it been a big part of your life?
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And does that include like growing up with that in the family environment?
Yeah. Like, my mom, she created I think like a bit later down in her life when I was like born.
Yeah.
And yeah, like singing and dancing. And then my dad, he was just a b-boy and a DJ. So
right. Wow.
it's yeah, I guess it's just in my blood.
Yeah.
I can't get away from it.
Right. Yeah. And is it like mine also, tropical blood? Were you raised up north?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up in TSV, Townsville.
Right. And so what? So both parents, creatives, artists, growing up in the tropics. What was childhood like? Like, what are some of your earliest memories?
Well, my earliest memory I have is, I guess my best memory, and that was when I moved up to the Torres Strait Islands, and I spent a lot of time with my ate and aka, my grandfather and grandmother. And I just I feel like I learned the power of speaking without speaking, and understanding with just feeling.
Right.
And it plays such an important part to my now, because there's when you're across the room and you see someone and you're already communicating, you can feel it.
Right. Right.
Having that being my main, I guess, my groundingness.
Yeah.
Because my elders really didn't speak much, because they're already transferring knowledge already over to me just from their silence, which is, but when they did speak, it was a spear. It was straight talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so if we think about kids in childhood, that's often a lot of chatter or making noise, or what was that like for you? Were the kids trying to be loud and the elders keeping them quiet, or how did they? How did this interaction play out?
I feel like I was, I don't know, I guess that child that kept the elders on their toes, but also really respected them.
Okay.
By just I really, really appreciated singing and dancing very young. And I guess it's because that that is our lifestyle. That's our sacred practice.
Mm.
That's what grounds us. That's what keeps us connected to our ancestors.
Mm.
And like we're made up of our ancestors.
Mm.
So when we move and when we sing, we like vibrate our spirit to remind us like, whoa, I'm our body is our ancestors, and I'm here today because of them. And it keeps their spirit alive, and their spirit is like, there's no separation between that.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just like one of those kids that would always like ask questions, but also just like I'd be asking the question in my head, and then the elders would answer it like heard. They were like communicating to me all the time. So yeah, it's funny.
You had a description with a post of yours recently, which is saying, the ancestors remind me to breathe. I sing to hear them speak.
Yeah. I feel just when I sing, I get to hear their voices again. And when we're doing like chants, or like when we're singing in a group, we feel that togetherness. And when I sing, I feel like I get to be closer and held. I get to be closer and held to like our mother, like our ancestors. And because like singing and even dancing and like being inside of our bodies, like it's such a sacred practice that all of us peoples have done for our whole life. And it's in like every practice, every, not even practice, every lifestyle. And that's what grounds us. And like I sing because they remind me to breathe, because when I'm singing, I'm breathing, because my insides is nature. We are nature. That's why when we sit with ourselves and breathe, it feels like we're just like out in nature. When we're meditating or just breathing, it feels like I'm fishing. Like it feels like we're a child again, and we're just listening to elders. And our ancestors are inside of us, so when we listen inside, we can hear them. Yeah. And they always channel. Like I like when it comes to writing like music or just like singing, all of my songs are channeled. Like I hear it in like a vibration, so I have to sing it. And then English captures, like we try to like capture English with that vibration, that like try to translate it so people can understand. But like when I sing, it just comes out like just like
Right.
just vibration. With and I feel like I could, and I do as well. Like I sing. Sometimes I'm just singing the vibration, and like the feeling is like the most important thing, because it's I'm feeling that connection to them, and
Right.
I'm surrendering my this body to connect. Yeah.
And so you've mentioned childhood in Townsville and connections to Torres Strait. Can you tell me more about your ancestral lineage?
Oh, my ancestral lineage. Well, my father, his people are from the Waray people in the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
And like my mother, she's from everywhere. Plus, like Philippines also have like Spanish, like background as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, and mum's side's from like Torres Strait Islands, but also like Vanuatu. Just with the like blackbirding and stuff like that.
Tell me about blackbirding.
Like they, like in colonization, they brought people from like the South Sea Islands to work on the sugarcane farms in North Queensland.
Okay.
So when you go up to North Queensland, like there's a lot of mix with like South Sea Islands.
Okay.
So there's a story that my two ate's grandfathers, they dug out a canoe and escaped from the like slave trade and cruised up to the Torres Strait Islands, and that's where like they met like our other, like my aka, my great aka, and
Uh-huh.
it kind of just like birthed from there.
Right.
And a lot of like so the island that like I grew up with is called like Semple, and like a lot of that island on Semple, because it's like Mawa Island is like the island, so there's Semple on one side and Kubin on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of the Semple people were from like South Sea Islands, and yeah, it was a mission. And but yeah, that was a story that my aka told me about my mates.
Right.
But yeah, they were working as like slaves, and like there was a story where when they were taken, they were like, so one of my ates were from New Caledonia and the other one was from Tana Island. And apparently like one of them were fishing, and then they were like convinced by someone on the ships to be like, hey, come, and then they were taken, and they would just like travel and build, like collect slaves, just like, over in like Africa and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, just the same, the same process. And they said that because once they like started colonizing like the outer islands, they used the people from that island to go into the other islands and be like, hey, it's all right, we can,
Right.
this is good for us, and like all this stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's
The classic technique that they've
yeah.
learnt around the world.
Yeah.
And here we have, his name doesn't bear worth mentioning, but, a recent prime minister who was just like, another old white man who had claimed and then was corrected that like, we haven't had slavery here in Australia.
Yeah.
And then here you have, just like within a couple of generations,
Yeah.
direct stories of
Yeah.
that at the top of this state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really not that long ago. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Totally wild. And the name you mentioned, was it blackbirding?
Yeah.
What's going on there? What is?
I think I can't remember off the top of my head, like fully what that means, but from memory, I think there was like I think it was like, I don't know if I'm right, but there was this technique that they used, like it was actually capturing one blackbird and then the others would follow or something.
Oh my God.
And but I'm not too sure. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that like it's something to do with that.
Right.
Like that name comes from that, and then they've just like used the same technique or something like that.
Great. Yeah. The
Um,
same term from animals
yeah,
to colonized peoples and enslaved peoples.
yeah.
Lovely. Lovely. So not many people can say that they grew up with a b-boy and DJ father and dual creative parents, let alone, I don't know, I guess it's not to say that black and brown parents are not often creative themselves, but to have both is interesting. Sounds interesting and unusual to me. What was that like? I think like previously you've mentioned to me that there was like music going late into the night. Yeah, can you tell me more about like that experience of like creativity is normal? Both my parents do it.
I Well, both of them, they're creative. That they use that to, you know, escape from their traumas. And a lot of people that are creatives use that, and that's a way to ground them. And from my experience, that's what helped me. And that's like, in that realization, like singing and dancing is so important to our human spirit. That's why we've had it for years. But you notice like not that many people sing anymore, not that many people dance anymore. Like you can see it in their spirit, you can see it like in their hearts. Like they want to, but they're like restricted by the mental barriers that society has given us. And yeah, for instance, like my dad's outlet was like, he loved music so much and the feeling and what it did for him. But also like there was a part of him that was running away and drowning out the sounds of the past for him.
Right.
And that's it shows in the vibration of music that he would play. And it's a lot of upbeat, like techno, all this stuff like that, because it helped drown out the sadness, the trauma, And then for mom, it's like country music, and it's all about feeling it, like really expressing your sadness and like feeling every part of it, and like being okay to just speak about it. So like, yeah, I mean, like I grew up separate. Like mom and dad weren't together. Like when I was younger, it'd be like 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
And
they were like fairly close by, like both in Townsville, was that right?
yeah, both in Townsville.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the time, like I think my mum was very like suicidal as well, and my dad was very much heavy into the drug industry.
Wow. And you're at what age?
Probably like 7, 6, like my whole life, pretty much. Like I've only now truly and honestly like have a better relationship with my dad now.
Okay.
Because I grew up more on my mom's side, and that side grounds me a lot because of like the song and dance, being able to like sing in language and dance. Whereas like my father, coming from the Philippines, like a lot of their past from the Philippines was like, don't talk about it. Let's just keep moving on.
Yeah, yeah.
And you find that in a lot of like like I've noticed like a lot of like Filipino families, they don't really talk about their past history of the Philippines because it's like, you know, maybe coming from poverty. And even when I would ask my lola, my nana about like, oh, tell me about the Philippines, my dad would be like, hey, don't stop talking about that.
All right. Like we don't talk about the war kind of stuff.
Yeah, like that type of thing. Like,
Yeah.
and the reality is because, you know, there's trauma there.
Mm.
There's physical and sexual abuse. You know, there's drugs and alcohol
Yeah.
abuse,
Yeah.
and you know, and that's in like every people's now. You know, stemming from like you know, the pain of our generational trauma from colonization.
Mm. Mm.
You know, there was this like, I think there was this like journal entry saying like we gave the like Aboriginal people alcohol because it helped them numb their pain, and
Yeah.
we saw what it did to them, and they forgot about the fact that their brother and sister was getting beaten up or like their children was taken away. Then
Yeah.
that's like why, you know, a lot of mob are drinking nowadays
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
smoking because it's to numb their pain.
Right. Right.
And
And was almost introduced like it was kind of like weaponized.
yeah,
Right. And
and it, you know, there's so many. It's a distraction from the reality.
mm.
You know, nowadays social media is a distraction from the reality.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and the things that come with that.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
being addicted to, you know, social media, like all these things.
Yeah.
Like, all these distractions.
What's the reframing of this? It's like an adult pacifier. We just stick it in a.
Yeah. And people go crazy when they don't have their phones, you know.
Mm. Mm.
Like, I constantly remind myself I'm grateful that I know the feeling of country before I know the feeling of technology. You know, that's home for me. And that's important
Mm.
because there's people that haven't ever experienced a fire, like an actual like campfire. And that's sad because
Yeah.
what it does for my spirit and how it grounds me, like I can't imagine how they would be feeling, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. But yes, coming back to parents and growing up, like dad, you know, his day started like and in the night. That's when he started. Like, you know, mum was saying like 7 o'clock he was out of the house at times, and you know, we would be little kids, like me, my sister, and my two little brothers. We would be, you know, sitting in the car for like 5 hours waiting for my dad because he was like in going and doing like his drug deals and stuff like that,
Mm.
and like doing runs. We would just be standing, like sitting in the car for like hours and hours, just waiting. And, you know, and sometimes he would forget about us at school, and we would it'd be like dark time, and we'd just be waiting.
Right.
And, you know,
Because he would have that responsibility for like a 2-week period, right? Like full time for that. Did you? Because you
yeah,
said 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
that was when I was younger. Like
Oh, right.
when I came back from the islands, and like my mum, she went back to Cairns, and that was like, I guess, my experience of like what abandonment would feel like, because she just dropped me off to my uncle's house, and I just waited, and my dad came and picked me up, and all of a sudden I'm living this life with my dad now.
Mm.
And that was when, you know, the real trauma really kicked in, because I was witnessing my brother being like bashed by my dad because of the anger that he had inside because of his trauma
Yeah.
and him not being able to express it.
Yeah.
And then like the coming down of like drugs and alcohol, and then that being like him being angry all the time. And then, then like my experience from like being like sexually abused from my like older cousin, and like witnessing that, like at that time, like I don't have like any dance or like singing, like something. I don't have anything that connects me back to country. And that was my separation. Like going into my dad's family was my experience of actually feeling like sadness. Because I remember being like going into my room and just listening to music, being like, "Whoa, this feels so good," because I could cry to music, and you know, and it made so much sense because that was like my outlet. And then I, at the between like the age of, I think, 9 to 12, 9 to 12, like I was living with my dad, and it was just very like a lot of anger, a lot of like, there'd be moments where he would talk about like the like not like would talk about like why my mom wasn't coming back and she didn't love me. Like that's why she's not here, she doesn't like it already, like psychologically like trained me into feeling sad. And I remember feeling sad so much, but I couldn't speak. Like I remember going into my father's care and experiencing what it feels like to not have a voice. And when I started getting a lot more like strength within my spirit, and I started like, connecting to my like old people, like remembering my mum saying like, when we go past this like country, or when we go past nature, talk to nature, like talk to country, talk to your ancestors, because they're listening to you. And that was my like outlet and my ability to like share and speak, and because that's home, that was the reminder. And like in all that pain and anger, there was always, a voice that would be like, "Hey, it's all right, you can do this." That voice of like encouragement, and that helped me like push through, because then at the age of like 12, I like I decided to just run away, and got on my bike, and I just left my dad's and my siblings, and I just rode, and I went to my friends' houses, just stayed with them, and my auntie's house on my mum's side. So I ran away to go to my mum's side. My mum was still not in the picture, but she would call and be like, "Hey," and I'd always be like, when are you coming back, But yeah, ran away, and then that's when my akka took me in her care, and that's when I started learning guitar. That's when music really, really started kicking off, and I found the like vulnerability and the beautiful like feeling I could feel when I would sing, because every time I would sing I would cry, and it was a way that I could release all of that anger and all of that sadness, and I could I could cry. And that's that was like giving myself my voice back and allowing me to feel more connected to my ancestors. And yeah, and later down the track, like I was like in and out of my uncle's house and my auntie's house. So I was like, but at the time I was like very much heavy in sports as well. And sports was more my like outlet, my physical outlet, like expressing through there. And then like later in my like high school, like year 11 and 12, that's when I really was like, music is actually feels more proper on my heart, because I don't have any expectation from sports to be like, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. Like I can just be, I can just express and sing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then, yeah, big journey. But this, the healing of my spirit and understanding, the pain within, within my experience helped me understand so many other people. And that is like our reality. Like there's a lot of people that are lost. And, there's people that are holding on to their life with little practices. The simplicity of just yoga or, meditation, because the reality of like our spirits can't keep up with like how much our minds are running so much. And that's like, we gotta, remember country, remember us. Because right now, all of our energy is going outwards and not inwards. And that's, I say like how we treat ourselves is how we're going to treat country. And that, like I was saying, like how a brother is treating their woman is how they're treating country. And vice versa. You can feel it. And that's like, yeah, it's just so like my calling now is to just express through the vibration of channeling, like all of that. Because when I sing for everyone. I'm not singing for me. Because I can feel everyone. Like the more I've been able to access my emotions and my feeling, I can feel when people are where they're at, and I can see them, because I can feel the energy. And like that is like returning back to the sacred way. And yeah, it makes sense like why like elders are so important, because they've had a lot of time to feel. And not that many people nowadays are listening to our elders. And I sing for everyone, and I sing for country. And that's my like intention. That's like my calling. And I just like want others to feel, because it's very like superficial nowadays. Like, yeah, unless someone has like protected their innocence, I can feel when someone's still innocent because they're still like in their senses of emotions. Like there's people out there, but there's people that are working back into coming back to their innocence. And that's like, I feel like that's the journey of healing. And their innocence is like really, really just being here in the now and experiencing life and emotions. Yeah. But later down the track, I'm at the time of my life where I'm able to feel and I can understand and understand my mum and dad. Because the more I look into myself, the more I see the pain that I've been through, Therefore, I'm just a stem from my father, so I can understand his pain. I can understand the other people's pain. Like, every time you heal a part of you, you get to heal one part of your ancestor. Then the more healing we do, the more we get to return to country.
Right.
You can already feel it, the more you've looked inside of yourself, the more you see your connection has grown for country, and that's the importance of healing, because healing is the real revolution.
That's quite a profound reflection on intergenerational trauma, because it feels like such a big thing that we can't possibly deal with all of that. But that's a really interesting, almost like, piece by piece, little by little, without the burden of having to tackle it all. We can do that. It makes me think of something that could be like a throwaway Instagram quote, like music is my medicine. But I think from what I'm hearing, with some really challenging aspects of your upbringing there, was it more of an aspect of survival for you?
When I was younger, I knew that I was meant to do what I was meant to do, but I had to experience everything. I had to experience those emotions to be able to give back people their emotions. And so that's why I'm saying, like, when I cry for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm crying through my voice, because that's country. People's reflection is how they're looking at country and how they're looking at each other, And it's,
That can be some really confusing experiences to grow up with. How do you, like, as you're learning how to be a boy, how to be a man, how to grow up in this space and work towards adulthood, and you're learning about what different things are, what was it like for you to like dial in your moral compass amongst all of that and like learn about these different, unusual, heavy ideas, behaviors, topics as you're still a child?
Well, the thing that grounded me was, I had this saying. It was like, nature never lies. So as long as I'm listening to the nature inside of me, that's what's real. You can really, really feel it. Because, the more healing, the more steps I've done to my healing. For instance, we speak about, when they came to colonize us with their fear and insecurities, they first targeted the man, because we are the first circle. We're the outer layer. We protect the woman and child. That's why a lot of men are are so broken. You know,
Yeah.
once the man is broken, then they can break the woman and child,
Okay.
because the man is the protector. And what they've done, you know, us men, this is our power here. This here, our being is to be like strategic with how we hunt, with how we see. But there's so many distractions that is happening. You know, you got alcohol, drugs, pornography, like all of these distractions that are stopping us from actually seeing seeing all the distractions that they're putting onto us, from the reality of being like, hey brother, how are you actually? Because you're already like so closed off because there's so many walls. You know, so many walls from you, stopping you from feeling, because all of these distractions are numbing you. You know, that's, you know, the only thing that can break those distractions down are like love, you know, expression, and like vibration. Because, you know, one of my aunties said to me, speak and, you know, sing, because when you sing, it's your spear, because you can break through people's barriers, and it hits them. And I can feel it when I'm singing. I can feel the wall, but when I break through it, I know that it's broken through someone, and it hits them, and they're like, whoa.
Is that in a live performance with an audience?
Yeah,
you can feel that.
I can feel it. Like I can feel the walls. Like you can feel it too, like between just conversations, you know. And the more real we can be, the more we get to pull those, you know, things off, because everyone wants to be real. Everyone wants to be real, but there's so much distraction up here that stops them from actually being like, you know, I actually feel really sad because, you know, I don't really want to do this, but, you know, but it's apparently the normal thing to do, you know, and that goes for every situation. Like social expectation is so like destroying to the human spirit, you know? Yeah.
And particularly growing up in this like hyper masculine, white dominant, like so-called Australian culture, where definitely some gender polarities really don't have a lot of space for dynamics of male emotion outside of anger. And then some examples or exceptions to that you can see coming through may not be so resonant for people that have appearances like ours. How important do you think it is to be an example of that male vulnerability and showing sensitivity and emotion?
It's super important because, you know, as a warrior, as a protector, we must be able to feel. Because if you're not feeling in your moments of being at war and knowing your intuition, that stuff gets you killed, you know? You have to be grounded here, here, and here. Like, it's so important. But when this is being distracted and it's teaching you how to numb this, then you're all over the shop, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're just everywhere. Like, it's so important to be able to feel and express and cry.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important to cry because, you know, we are nature, and what they've done is they've put a dam to block your water flow. Once you break that dam, you can feel it. Like, people that are experiencing, like, you know, domestic violence and all this stuff is because they got so many dams up. And when all of that big water builds up, it's going to come bang and it just destroys everything.
Like the perpetrators of domestic violence.
Yeah.
Like,
That's just nature. Because we're nature.
Mm.
The more we're suppressing our flow,
Yeah.
the more that builds up. And that's like anxiousness.
Mm.
You know, people that feel anxious, people that feel angry is because there's a dam blocking them from flowing. That's what you experience in yoga, because you're unlocking you're opening up these gates.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's flowing is being present, being in the flow of things. You know, oh yeah, I'll do that. You know, and it's that's how we should be, flowy.
Mm. Mm.
I just remembered something that just like channeled through was the thing that got me to where I am today is this saying, everyone has a message for you. You just have to listen. And that's in every moment.
And that could be the people that make you happy, people that make you sad, people that
Yeah.
infuriate you.
Yeah. And, you know, the experience of, like, you know, everyone's experiencing, like, white people, white men, white, you know, this like capitalism of that, but they're ultimately our younger siblings. There's no separation. That's why it's so important for us to remind them how to feel. They're our little brothers and sisters. That's why we've been here on this country for so long, every people.
I was going to say, is that from the perspective of longevity of culture?
Yeah.
Right.
We've been here on this country.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
A lot of, like, melanated people have been here.
Yeah.
We're on the journey of, you know, there's prophecies about when, you know, white men and, you know, cultured people have to come together. And this is the reality. Like, this is the prophecy. And it's important for us to feel and not, you know, let their entity, because, you know, when they come, they gave us all these insecurities and fears.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to remember who we are to remind them that that's inside of you as well. You know, and there is, like, you know, white brothers and sisters out there that are connecting and feeling country, feeling themselves. Like, that's them returning back to their spirit, like their groundingness. The thing that brings them back to country, brings them back to earth, you know.
Right.
Like, judgment separates. So we can't judge. Because, you know, if we are country, then you're country. How I treat you is how I'm going to treat country. You know? And ultimately, like, land is everything. And, you know, we are the land. We are the children as well. You know?
Right.
Everyone is a child. And that's what I mean. Like, everyone's got a message for you to learn, to be able to walk through this, you know, human experience.
So am I hearing, like, rather than separation, rather than like, we're going to do our thing over here because you've done this thing for all the time, like, more of a kind of, a duty of care, like when you're talking about younger siblings, like you want to bring them up as well and show them how to do things. Is that your perspective on I guess cultural integration
Yeah.
of bodies of culture?
Yes. Also, it's, when fear and trauma, like, because it's an exchange, right? When we're exchanging, you can feel when someone is feeling fear, because then that sometimes leaks into, you. And if we look at, like, when we were all colonized first, that was the fear leaked into us from our exchanges.
Right, yeah. You could see it in aspects of like conservative dress, suddenly covering up yourselves. Sexual repression.
Yeah.
And
that's what I mean. Like the distraction and the distortion that this society has, like this entity that has like consumed everyone, has like distorted our minds so much. Like no wonder why our sisters are crying, because of the distraction of what they're doing to the men. And that's just so much confusion, It's like I remember experiencing the feeling of like, I didn't want to be this man. I didn't want to be a man if the man was angry all the time. Didn't know how to express his emotions.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, well, a real man is someone that can cry, can express their emotions, can literally, because we have like the masculine and feminine energy in us. Like, I feel like people are getting so confused on what that is. Like, we're able to connect in both worlds. And in ceremonies, like, women have women's business, men have men's business, because the women are channeling a whole nother realm. That's why the men have to listen to the woman, because the woman is country. From my experience, like, I can listen to my partner and be like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, this is coming. And then later down the track, this comes. Like when the woman is connected to her womb and to country, they can feel everything that comes before. And our role as the protectors is to listen and to, like, listen to everything around us. Because we got to understand, like, that's there. Because if we're not, like, and if we're not talking the country, we're not, like, it's like, what is that echo vibration thing? Like
echo chamber, like,
when you like speak, like dolphins, how they send out,
like a sonar kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the dolphins and whales.
Yeah, how they understand, like, or like when people, like blind people, are like, they make sounds to be
Right.
like, oh, that's there, that's there,
Yeah.
that's there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like
the sonar radar kind of
yeah,
thing.
like that is important for us as well, like, to do. And we can do it, like, just by, like, it's so funny to explain. But, like, that's how we connect to our brothers and sisters. You can feel it, because
Right.
that, like, it comes from here and it goes and it just, like, shoots out, and you'll be like, oh, I need to go talk to that person.
Right. The connection in silence that you learned from your ancestors.
Yeah.
So in there that you mentioned earlier that people are lost, and there's a new tune that you've brought to show me. today of the same name. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the background and how it came about?
Well, it was the experience of my experience of like seeing how the world runs. Like understanding how the world goes and understanding how this system has traumatized all people. Not just one people's, all people. Because there's still, white families that are being sexually abused and all of this stuff. And being involved with drugs and suppressing emotions and all this stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like we're all people of, we're all connected to each other. But yeah, and this song is based on like understanding the world and what the system is doing to us, and feeling lost in it because the people that were around me wasn't seeing the same things I was seeing because they were so distracted in their traumas and the distractions that society gives us. It was the experience of letting go of I don't need to be on social media all the time. I don't need to like, please people all the time when it's like actually, the pleasing is destroying my heart and my spirit, because in my spirit that this isn't actually right. The feeling of like just seeing everything that's going around us and being like, whoa, there's so many people that are confused, but it makes me feel lost because I feel alone. But like now when I realize like there's a lot of people are in that state of being. They're just like, they understand how the world's going and they're just like, what do we do now? Like this is the beginning of the healing journey. And that, from my experience, that this is what the song's about.
Right. Should we take a listen?
Yeah.
All right.
As a main event, put on display for their entertainment. They saying we should let it go, but they don't see where I'm coming from. There's missing boys of inner peace. Tell me why ain't you listening? Bleeding now with no dignity. I'm crying out for help, why can't you see me? I'm feeling lost in all this emotion. I'm feeling lost in these cities. I'm feeling lost, a lack of devotion. Losing my mind, oh, what could it be? I'm feeling lost in all this emotion. I'm feeling lost in these cities. I'm feeling lost, a lack of devotion. Losing my mind, oh, what could it be? I'm losing my mind in this loop of time. Can someone please help me? I used to deny all of the things that happen to shape me. honest man I gotta be for this society. They gon' get mad at me when I'm breaking free from these chains of mental slavery, floating through reality, living in a state that looks down on ethnic poverty, run by high authority. Where is the equality? They should be ashamed of how this game is hurting my family. See, I'm running from this game. I'm tired of this loop, it's driving me insane. I'm running from myself. The systematic oppression got me screaming out for help. I'm feeling lost in all this emotion. I'm feeling lost in these cities. I'm feeling lost in the lack of devotion. Losing my mind, oh, what could it be?
Wow, okay. Lost. I feel like it's not too often that we hear 5-minute 50 tunes anymore. The Spotify and algorithmic gods request much more shorter durations, but it's nice to sort of have that, I guess, both emotional depth and the duration to go deep into something there. I feel like I was hearing more vocal gymnastics from you than I'm used to. Was that tune stretching out a bit, or have I mainly just heard you live, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the beginning. I definitely feel like even this track is the beginning of my vocal capabilities.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's the feeling of lost, like in my vocals right now, is like literally like expressing like that emotion with where my vocals are at right now. And it's that experience of like my vocals are like very raw. Like it feels very raw. And that's like when I'm expressing lost, it's like I'm just expressing because it's raw. I'm not trying to, be special about the tone of my voice.
Right.
It's more just like as long as I'm expressing.
Right. And did I hear "Lost in These Cities"? Is that one of the lyrics?
Lost in the city.
Lost in the city. Right. And
Yeah.
I'm aware that you've recently, moved into the neighborhood and taken a rental in the city, and that seems kind of unusual for you based upon the last few years. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I actually wrote this song in Hobart.
Okay.
Yeah, and
When
it
you're
was
when you're still on the road,
when I was living in Hobart,
living in Hobart. Okay.
and it was my experience of it was the first time I was confronting trauma because I was reading all these books. I was reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself and the Four Agreements and practicing the power of now and realizing like, because I was on a journey of like, I want to overcome fear.
Right.
What am I afraid of? And until I looked at my past and my experience, like what happened to me, is when I was like, whoa, this is a lot of stuff. And then I wrote this song. And it was like one of the songs that were like 3 a.m. It's like, I need to just get this out. And so I just like started channeling it.
Right.
And yeah, like it's the journey of like being away from home, like my experience of being away from family for the first time. Because sometimes it can be hard to identify what is like generational trauma and what is like what is wrong. Because when you're living in like a family that is like all traumatized, it's hard to identify the trauma until you like step out of it, and then you're like, whoa, I see that. Whoa, I can understand this person because they may have gone through this. Like the more I looked into myself and looked into the traits of what each traumatized experience has given me, the more I got to understand other people. Because you can tell when someone has been through something, like the energy, like, oh, it's such a blessing to feel. Like once I was able to feel these emotions, I can understand like, someone that's been like abused or whatever. Like I can feel that because I can feel them and their emotion, even their body language. I can understand that feeling. And like, a lot of people aren't understanding each other now. Like a lot of people aren't even seeing each other because they're not feeling.
Yeah.
They're not feeling each other. They're just like, hey, like.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of polarization when we go fast and shallow.
Yeah.
But I like these kind of spaces because you get to swim in the slow and deep.
Yeah. But I wrote it in Tasmania, and I was just like experiencing what it's like to be away from family, like, for the first time. And yeah, just like breaking down my childhood. Like breaking down what is fear. Like, because like ultimately like fear is false evidence appearing real into the mind that's like you're present. So like when you're in fear, you're like, oh, but it's like your past that is catching up to you. Like your past is stopping you from like being present and moving forward.
Right.
Because of that fear of your like all the traits that you've learned, you know, all those coping mechanisms that you've learned to like, I guess like work with fear and stuff like that. Like, you know, people that like are eating or like heaps is because they're suppressing emotion, you know. Yeah, like understanding what fear is, that's like lost. Like getting lost in understanding it.
Yeah. False evidence appearing real. What's the term for that again? Like when you make an acronym out of the word? Do you remember?
I have no clue, but it's
right.
out of the breaking the habit of being yourself.
Okay.
Joe Dispenza.
Right.
And that's like, that was such a big shift for me when I realized, like when I was like, whoa, what the heck? And I was like, damn,
yeah.
I get that. Because like in my spirit, I know that I have this role, like I have this service that I have to do, but my fear is stopping me from serving like humanity. So I was like on this journey of like, okay, what is stopping me? You know? And that's like going back and looking into my past, because it's weeds that you need to pull out. Yeah. And until I like went back, and because sometimes you have to like, because life goes in circles, and you go around. Like I realized, like I was going when I went back to Tasmania, I was realizing, okay, my last experience here, this is what I was going through, and I can let go of that. I'm going back home because now I'm standing in my truth, being like, hey, this is, you know, like I went back to my family and said to my whole family what happened to me. And I realized that I did it because I wanted to show my brothers and sisters, my cousins and aunties and uncles, that you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be afraid of expressing your emotions. Like my whole family was there, and I'm just like saying like, you know, I've been sexually abused and all this stuff like that. And that was such a big like achievement for me to give my spirit its life back, but to free others, because everything is stopping us. All of these distractions are stopping us from actually communicating and releasing that energy, like letting that water flow. You know?
Yeah.
And that was like a very important part, because now it's opened up so much, you know? Expressing your feelings can open up so much more connection and realness to people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I just feel like that's important as well.
And there's often unnecessary levels of shame that are placed upon the victim of sexual abuse, particularly when it's in familial circles. So
yeah,
it's pushing up against that as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's that like, because I realized like, well, surely that's generational trauma, you know? And like the more I looked into it, and I was like, well, if that happened to me, then that must have happened to that person. And that person must have happened, like it just kept cycling and cycling and cycling. Right. But like, you know, a lot of like, from what my spirit says is that a lot of it is because there's no like there's no sacred practice anymore between, like, there's no ceremony for the men now.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many broken, there's missing boys of inner peace. I say that. Because what that is because, like pornography, it distracts your mind so much, and it stems from pedophilia.
Right.
Like, it already like destroys your mind, and that already like destroys your innocence and your breath. It stops you from breathing. Like, when I was younger, a teenager, like I had so much anxiety that like pornography was my outlet. And I know, because I know that, and I know the feeling of that. Like, I know that that's such a common thing, and that's something that I challenged, because it's like, that's not right. Like, your energy, that's your life force. That's your children. Every time, you like release your energy, it's just like you're numbing yourself. You're numbing yourself from feeling. And that's like just as toxic as like having a smoke or having a drink.
Yeah.
And that's, I was reading in the Four Agreements, it's like how you we are our worst, like we are our own abusers. How we like treat ourselves is like how others are gonna treat us. And like I was saying, that comes back down to like how a man is treating his woman is how it's treating country. Like, that's why like it's important to like remind yourself like what is sacred to you, because exchanging and intimacy is such a sacred practice. It's the importance of the man and woman and the exchange, but now it's like man and technology, and it's like there's no actual exchange. So now the man is drained and he's in a lower vibration, therefore he is more like acceptable, I think that's the word, to like feeling guilty, feeling shame, feeling angry, all of this stuff.
Yeah. And in the absence of thorough sexual health education in general, a lot of the education ends up being from those mediums as well, giving us a warped idea of sexual practice, sexuality. Yeah.
And it's an entity. Like, it's literally an entity that consumes your being. And that's like a lot of the experience, like people that experience like sexual abuse is because they've been destroyed. That person's mind has been destroyed to think that this is okay. Like, when really, like, it's just like, it can be so like sad. It's sad because it's like, well, if that's the big distraction, like I was saying, like, for the men, like our minds are so important to us because we're like very strategic, and when that's like distracted and destroyed, like it stops us from being the protector. Actually protecting the woman and child, because like when you don't speak about this trauma and stuff like that in the family, it's only going to keep cycling like healing and speaking about that. And it's no one's fault. That's the crazy thing. It's no one's fault. It's all of these distractions.
Yeah.
Because like you look at generational trauma, right? And that like sexual abuse can stem from the entities of colonization. Like when they came, they had fear. So then they sexually abused the women,
Yeah.
even the men.
Mm.
So now the men learned that trait. Oh, okay, it's okay to abuse other
Behave
men.
like this. Yeah.
And that's how you, like, and now it's like normalized thinking that that's okay, when really like that actually destroys our spirit, destroys our innocence. And like there's so much stuff that's destroying our inner sense. Like it's crazy.
You've talked about a few journeys on the road to making Lost and about the story and the content in the song itself. But right here we're listening to Lost, which has Master on it. So it's gone through several iterations and also creative and technical versions to get to this stage where we can listen to it mixed and as a full tune. Can you tell me a little bit about the journey of the song to get to this point in terms of making it?
In terms of making it,
Yeah.
like I tried a couple of times. I tried making it a couple of times with different people. And I was mostly just listening to the calling, listening to like old ancestors being like, hey, work with this person, exchange energy with this person. Like, and yeah, it didn't really feel like there was like maybe 2 or 3 times I tried to create it with other people. And yeah, and then like brother Luke was kind of like very understanding of like, this is what the song means. Like was genuine and knows how to feel and has experienced and fully understands and understands like my whole being and what I'm expressing. And yeah, we just like, there was like a demo track where it's just like completely different. And it's just like, whoa, what is happening here? And then there's like this version, but it's not, this is through a form of technology. It's not going to be as connecting this as real life. And like, I'm grateful and I'm like happy and the way it sounds. Well, like the making of it was like the most sacred thing about it, because it was like we weren't like, it wasn't about like the like, you got to get this song finished. Like it was just about like spending time with my brother, being like, hey, this, that's, I was feeling this way, like genuinely connecting with another human to create, but like working together. He was very like, there was both like that mutual respect and understanding, like, hey, what do you reckon? What do you think? Like, oh, I think this, I think that. Like, it was such a beautiful journey. And I feel like, there's those people that are in their like, they're offering their service. Like, for instance, like how I was saying, like, I'm grateful that you're holding this space as your service to give mob their voices back, and that's like coming from that place of like just listening. Yeah, and that's kind of how the song was like created. And yeah, I just like, because I went back down to Tassie, and every time I do something live, I always record it, because it's different every time. And I connect and I channel different, like something comes out differently.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the structure of it was kind of similar to the way I did it in Tasmania with my brothers down there. And it was just like we all understood this emotion. So it came out very like flowy. And yeah, I wanted to put the sounds of West End cars in it at the start, just because it was like, whoa, wanted to have that in there, because that's like when I was walking around the city, I was like, why? What is happening? Like, what even is this? Like, people are not even talking to each other. Yeah. But like I think, yeah, we did like 10 sessions. It was long, because it was just like little things that we would do, and I'd come back and be like, I feel like I can express more. Like, I feel like I can give myself more emotion. Like everything about like the music and the creative and channeling is about like doing it from the place of like real emotion, not just like pretending. You know, like every lyric has the intention. Like every emotion and vocal expression has the intention of like just crying. You know? Yeah.
Well, Rudy, thank you very much for jumping on and sharing your journey with us today. Going to finish up with one last listen of the track. So, thank you.
Yeah. And it's never too late to start healing.
We're haunted as a main event, put on display for the entertainment. They saying we should let it go, but they don't see where I'm coming from. There's missing boys of inner peace. Tell me why ain't you listening? Bleeding now with no dignity. I'm crying out for help, why can't you see me? I'm feeling lost in all this emotion. I'm feeling lost in this city. I'm feeling lost, a lack of devotion. Losing my mind, oh, what could it be? I'm feeling lost in all this emotion. I'm feeling lost in this city. I'm feeling lost, a lack of devotion. Losing my mind, oh, what could it be? I'm losing my mind in this loop of time. Can someone please help me? I used to deny all of the things that happen to shape me. This man I gotta be for this society. They gon' get mad at me when I'm breaking free from these chains of mental slavery. Floating through reality, living in a state that looks down on ethnic poverty. Run by high authority, where is the equality? They should be ashamed of how this game is hurting my family. See, I'm running from this game. I'm tired of this loop, it's driving me insane. I'm running from myself. The systematic oppression got me screaming out for help. I'm feeling lost. feeling lost in all this emotion. I'm feeling lost in this city. I'm feeling lost, the lack of devotion. Losing my mind, oh, what could it be?
Nem foi falar uma fita de